Is there really such a thing as a perfect game? Those rare experiences where everything just clicks into place, where once you start, you don't want to look away, and even after finishing it, you can't bring yourself to play anything else for a while. Well, I think there are, and in this list there are 20 of them. These aren't just big games, they're the right games. Each one does something perfectly in its own way. If you're ready, let's get started. Black Myth: Wukong. If you want to feel like you're inside a Chinese legend, then Black Myth: Wukong is definitely for you. Game Science, in their very first project, managed to blend the DNA of the Souls-like genre with the mythology of Journey to the West in such a masterful way that it creates something entirely unique. You play as Wukong, a legendary hero, and throughout the journey, you shape and evolve this character into something truly powerful. The boss fights are, in my opinion, some of the best designs in the genre. Each one feels like a puzzle. You get surprised the first time you face them, and once you figure them out, the satisfaction is just unmatched. Visually, the game is stunning. Honestly, it looks far more impressive than what you'd expect from its budget, with a rich color palette and incredible character designs. This wasn't just a surprise hit of 2024, it was an expected strike, and it landed perfectly. If you're looking for a next-gen Souls-like experience, I think you absolutely need to check this out. For an independent studio, this level of scale and quality doesn't come around often. And before we move on to the next game, you can subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Resident Evil Requiem. Let's be honest, we all kind of love Resident Evil games with Leon in them, without even thinking about it. In Requiem, the 9th main entry of this 30-year-old series, Capcom tries to hold both the past and the future at the same time, and I think they actually pulled it off. You follow FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft and the legendary agent Leon S. Kennedy. Both are connected to the ruins of Raccoon City, but in completely different ways. Grace's gameplay leans heavily into survival horror, limited resources, dark corridors, and that constant feeling that something is watching you. Leon, on the other hand, brings back the classic action identity of the series. Combining these two different gameplay and narrative styles into one structure is a huge risk, but the real achievement of Requiem is how well it balances them. It's around 10 hours long, and honestly, every minute feels meaningful. There's no wasted scene. With a 96% overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam, many critics are already calling it the strongest Resident Evil game since RE4, and I think they're right. Grace's crafting system, where she collects blood to create medicine and weapons, is also a really smart addition. It deepens resource management while changing how danger feels in the game. Kingdom Come: Deliverance II. The first game was a rough gem. The second one polished it into something truly special. You continue as Henry, the son of a blacksmith, in 15th century Central Europe. This game doesn't make you powerful. It keeps you grounded as an ordinary person, and I think that decision changes everything. NPCs react to what you wear, the camera observes you in subtle ways, and your reputation genuinely shapes your experience. Quests offer a level of creative freedom that most RPGs can't even imagine. Combat is something you have to learn. It's painful at first, but once you master it, it becomes incredibly satisfying, to the point where other games might not feel the same anymore. The story places you right in the middle of medieval European politics, but through the eyes of a real human being. This was, in my opinion, the exceeds expectations game of the year. Warhorse Studios didn't just succeed once, they've earned a permanent place with this one. You don't have to play the first game before this, but if you do, Henry's journey feels much more meaningful. Medieval Europe is rarely portrayed this authentically. The combat system takes time to learn, but it's absolutely worth it. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Some games don't just make history, they become history. Ocarina of Time redefined almost everything about 3D game design back in The Z targeting system, dungeon-based structure, time-shifting puzzles, and a world that evolves as Link grows. None of this had ever been done at this scale before. Even today, if you play it, you can still feel how solid that foundation is. The Water Temple still drives people crazy, and every new generation ends up rediscovering it. Some games represent their era. This game created one. It's still accessible today through Switch Online. And if you want to understand gaming history, I honestly think this is essential, not optional. Some new players might get stuck on certain mechanics, but the real point is simply existing in Hyrule. That world still offers new discoveries. Even now, very few games have held up this well over 25 years.
You're not a tourist here. You're fighting to survive.
Days Gone. This is the classic late success story. When it launched in 2019, it felt unfinished, but over the next couple of years, it slowly grew, improved, and finally got the recognition it deserved. You play as Deacon St. John, trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic Oregon with your motorcycle. Your bike needs fuel, your weapons degrade, and ammo is never enough. That constant sense of scarcity keeps you on edge at all times. But what truly makes Days Gone special, in my opinion, are the hordes. The first time you see one, you run, and honestly, that's the correct reaction. But once you you learn how to manage them, use the environment, and turn fire into a weapon, the game opens up in a completely different way. The story may feel a bit shallow at first, but after the midpoint, it really starts to pull you in. This is one of the best examples of a game that was unfairly criticized at launch, but eventually got the appreciation it deserved. Bend Studio clearly learned a lot from this experience, and the groundwork for a sequel is definitely there. The community has wanted it for years. If you're going to play it, I'd recommend doing it after the post-launch patches, because those updates really brought the game to a much more balanced state.
Hold.
God of War. Kratos' silence is, in my opinion, the strongest narrative decision in this game. Taking the series' wild, over-the-top energy and grounding it in a father-son journey has never felt this right. The moment you throw the Leviathan axe for the first time, you feel its weight, and when you call it back and catch it midair, it creates a completely new rhythm for combat. The single, unbroken camera shot keeps you connected from start to finish in a way that's hard to describe. Atreus is at the center of the story. His growth, his learning, and his conflicts with Kratos carry the emotional weight of the entire experience. With this game, Santa Monica Studio gave a completely new answer to the question, how do you make a combat game? It was Game of the Year in 2018, and honestly, that didn't even need explaining. But I think the real achievement is this. Even someone who has never played a God of War game before can jump in here and instantly connect with the series. It's both a perfect entry point and a complete experience on its own. If you're planning to play Ragnarok, this game builds the foundation. Otherwise, playing both games in order is definitely the best way to experience them. Dishonored. The first Dishonored is still, in my opinion, a textbook example of its genre. The city of Dunwall feels like a character itself. Plague, political collapse, and its distant, isolated streets all come together to create a living, breathing world. Corvo's abilities are basically a lesson in game design. Blink, time stop, controlling rats. You're never told exactly how to use them. You figure it out yourself. The game never forces you. You go wherever you want, however you want. Violence, stealth, both. Every choice you make has consequences that carry all the way to the ending. The chaos system shows exactly how your decisions shape the world around you. Dishonored played a huge role in bringing immersive sims to where they are today. It's been over a decade, and honestly, it still hasn't aged. We included Dishonored 2 on this list, but the first game is still the foundation and maybe even the more consistent experience overall. If you're starting the series, I think this is the right place to begin.
Throughout history, the boldest have dared to go further.
Rise of the Tomb Raider. This is always a strong candidate for the most underrated game of 2015. Crystal Dynamics throws a young, inexperienced Lara Croft into the freezing cold of Siberia, and the balance between safety and danger is handled incredibly well. Lara's abilities range from stealth to hunting, from puzzle solving to combat, and the transitions between them feel smooth and natural. The tombs are optional, but each one is unique and rewarding in its own way. The story follows a woman continuing her father's unfinished journey, facing both external dangers and her own inner doubts. Visually, it pushed the limits back then, and even today it still holds up really well. Because it launched as an Xbox exclusive, a lot of players missed it, and honestly, I think that's a mistake worth fixing. It's now available on every platform at a very reasonable price. If you're even a little curious, give it a shot. It's a perfect game when you just want to get lost in something for a while. After this game, Lara Croft truly became a completely different character.
You can't change, John!
Red Dead Redemption. Before its sequel, the original already had its own legend. John Marston's story feels like the final chapter of the Wild West, where engines start to replace horses, and innocence slowly fades away. Rockstar didn't try to overload the open world here. Instead, every region and every face carries its own identity. Train rides, random encounters, quiet moments, sudden conflicts, all of these blend together while John's personal journey unfolds in the background. And the ending? It's easily one of the strongest conclusions on this list. You start to realize that what feels like a trilogy is actually one continuous epic story understood fully only when you experience it from end to beginning. If you loved Red Dead Redemption 2, this is a must-play. From Software took the Souls formula and dropped it into a massive open world, and I think the result was even deeper than anyone expected. The lands between hide a secret in every direction. What pulls you forward isn't a waypoint, it's curiosity. What's at the top of that tower? What's hidden beneath that shadow? These questions drive you for hours. The combat system is the most expansive version of this formula. Hundreds of weapons, dozens of spells, and endless build combinations. Every death is information. Once you understand what you did wrong, you go back stronger. Seeing the Erd Tree for the first time is shocking. Defeating the final Elden Lord is pure satisfaction. Everything in between explains exactly why this genre is so loved. Game of the Year in 2022, and honestly, maybe even the game of the decade. The Shadow of the Erdtree DLC adds so much content that it almost rivals the base game. You finish it, and realize you're not actually done. The Miquella encounter is, in my opinion, one of the best boss fights in the entire series, and by the time you complete the DLC, the game somehow feels like it's just beginning all over again. Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. Wolfenstein II knows exactly where it's going, and it goes there without hesitation. BJ Blazkowicz isn't some untouchable hero. He's wounded, exhausted, but still gets back up. And honestly, I think that's what makes him so powerful. The game's alternate history America, under Nazi rule, creates moments that almost feel like you're walking through a horror world. The story is one of the boldest in the genre. Some scenes are genuinely uncomfortable, but that discomfort is intentional. Combat delivers that classic Wolfenstein chaos. Dual-wielding weapons, charging forward, tearing through enemies, and it still feels incredibly satisfying. The cinematic quality is top tier, and the character writing is surprisingly deep. If you think this is just another FPS, you're completely wrong. It's much more than that.
The time of cleansing draws nigh.
Who now will save us from the coming
The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion always lived in Skyrim's shadow. Weirder, more mechanical, but also uniquely its own thing. But in my opinion, the 2025 remaster completely changes that perception. The visuals are fully reworked, and with Unreal Engine, Cyrodiil now delivers some truly breathtaking moments. The Oblivion Gates, the guild storylines, and the pure creativity of the Shivering Isles DLC all return, now enhanced with modern quality of life improvements. If you've spent years playing Skyrim, Oblivion feels like a refresh, more chaotic, more absurd, more human. And the Dark Brotherhood questline, still one of the best written quest chains in the entire series. This remaster isn't just for nostalgia, it's also a perfect entry point if you've never explored Tamriel before. Alongside the visual upgrades, improved loading times make everything feel much smoother, and Shivering Isles on its own is one of the most creative expansions in gaming history. The Madness Realm concept is still unmatched, even today.
I still have the Shagohod and the legacy. There is nothing America can...
Metal Gear Solid dubbed Snake Eater, a remake of a Hideo Kojima game, without Kojima. That sentence alone is enough to make anyone nervous, but the result proves something important. When the original is strong enough, its power can be carried forward, not just copied. You play as Naked Snake, becoming a legend in the Soviet jungles during the Cold War in 1964. The camouflage system, hunting for survival, treating your own wounds, everything feels just like it did in the original. Visually, it's completely rebuilt using Unreal Engine, and this time it truly immerses you in that jungle. The story of the boss still delivers one of the most powerful farewell scenes not just in the series, but maybe in gaming history. If you've played it, you already know. If you haven't, Delta is the perfect place to start. It's already passed 2 million copies, and it even brought back hope that Konami might revisit MGS4. The series feels alive again. For a new generation, this is a very accessible entry point, and with Master Collection Vol 2 announced, it's clear the franchise is expanding again.
Cities turned to graves.
Horizon Forbidden West. Aloy is back, and this time, the world is bigger, more colorful, and more alive. Forbidden West truly expands Horizon's mechanics. Climbing feels smoother, weapons are far more varied, and the new machines surpass the original both visually and tactically. From underwater environments to desert settlements and tropical forests, every part of the map has its own identity. The story builds on Zero Dawn and takes its ideas to the next level, asking bigger questions. Aloy herself feels more human this time. She learns to listen, to connect, and that growth is consistent throughout the narrative. Visually, this has been one of the best-looking games since 2022, and it still holds that position. Guerrilla's second entry gave the strongest possible confidence in the future of the series. The Burning Shores DLC maintained that same quality and expanded the experience even further. If the Horizon trilogy keeps this momentum, the final game could easily become the peak of the series. And honestly, following Aloy's journey is still as exciting as ever. Astrobot. It's easy to compare Astrobot to Sackboy or Little Big Planet, but honestly that's the wrong way to look at it. This game is more like a love letter to PlayStation history. But the best part is, you don't need to know that history to enjoy it. Every level pushes the limits of the DualSense controller. Haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, sound design, they all work together so well that the controller stops feeling like just an input device and becomes part of the game itself. Platforming feels intuitive, the difficulty curve is perfectly balanced, and the surprises never stop. It won Game of the Year in 2024, and no one saw that coming. But after playing it, it's hard to imagine any other outcome. Each level introduces surprise appearances from different PlayStation characters, turning the whole experience into a celebration. It's one of those rare games that works for both kids and adults at the same time. Team Asobi has officially placed itself among Sony's top studios with this one. And if a sequel gets announced, I honestly think it'll become one of the most anticipated PlayStation games ever.
Death to Kronos.
Hades 2. The Hades series already understood something important. Death isn't failure, it's progression. And in my opinion, Hades 2 takes that idea and pushes it even further. This time, the story shifts perspective. Not a brother, but a sister. You play as Melino, stepping into a much larger cosmic conflict against Kronos, a threat to the very order of the world. The combat system expands on the original, with multiple weapon archetypes, and every single run feels different. Each build opens up a completely new playstyle, which keeps things fresh for hours. The narrative is still layered beneath the surface. The more you die, the more the world opens up. Characters evolve, dialogue deepens, and everything starts connecting in a really satisfying way. It started in early access, but even then it was already one of the strongest roguelikes out there.
Last chance to come in clean.
What's he gonna do? Arrest me? Call me a rogue
Sleeping
cop?
Dogs. There aren't many games that capture Hong Kong this authentically, and in my opinion, that alone makes Sleeping Dogs special. You play as undercover cop Wei Shen, infiltrating the Triads, but over time that mission turns into something much deeper. You start questioning where you belong and who you're really working for. The combat system brings martial arts back into a genre that had almost forgotten. The counter-based system combined with environmental takedowns creates a very grounded, very satisfying kind of action. In the city itself, it feels alive. From crowded street markets to rooftop chases, from neon-lit nights to quiet, foggy mornings, every moment has character. It scored a 77 on Metacritic, which honestly feels way too low to me.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
Call of Duty: Modern Warfare. This game asked a bold question. How serious can this franchise actually get? And I think it found its answer. Captain Price is back, Soap is back, but everything feels heavier, more grounded, more realistic this time. The night raid missions are some of the most intense sequences the series has ever created. The weapon system and customization raised the bar when it came out, and multiplayer hit one of its strongest forms here. This game also laid the foundation for Warzone, and that impact is still being felt. 2019 was packed with big releases, but this one didn't just blend in, it stood right at the center. If you're new to the series, this is probably the best place to start. And honestly, this version of Price and Soap stays with you long after you're done. That night vision infiltration mission alone is enough to justify its place on this list. The Last of Us Part 1. This was already a masterpiece. The remake didn't just update it, it brought it back to life. The foundation Naughty Dog built in 2013 was so strong that with modern visuals, it becomes something even more powerful. Joel and Ellie's journey across a post-apocalyptic United States isn't just about survival. Every conversation adds depth, every quiet moment builds tension. Resources are scarce, the infected are terrifying, but other humans are often the real danger. The game isn't afraid of being linear. It takes you exactly where it wants to, and you don't want to let go. And when it ends, you feel it. You feel that emptiness because you have to leave that world behind. Very few games can do that. There's also a strong connection between Part 1 and Part 2. They complete each other. You really shouldn't skip this and jump ahead. Start here. You probably won't be able to stop anyway. Assassin's Creed Shadows. A lot of people are going into Assassin's Creed Shadows with heavy skepticism, but honestly, I think it's a game you should definitely give a chance. This is the Japan setting fans have been waiting for over a decade. You play as two completely different characters, Naoe and Yasuke. Naoe is all about stealth, shadows, patience, precision. Yasuke is the opposite, raw strength, direct combat, breaking through doors instead of sneaking around them. Balancing these two playstyles in one game is a bold move, but it works surprisingly well. The seasonal system makes the world feel alive. Snow-covered mountains in winter, cherry blossoms in spring, intense summer heat. It all changes how the world feels as you explore it. The story isn't always perfect, but when the gameplay and world design come together, exploring feudal Japan becomes incredibly satisfying. In my opinion, this is one of the most refined Assassin's Creed games we've seen, and also one of the most calm, detailed, and carefully crafted open worlds in the series. Ubisoft really needed a win like this, and I think they earned it.